It's a super middleweight title fight featuring a pair of Olympic medalists. We are making the rounds here on ESPN.com. Jim Basquil alongside Brian Campbell. Soon to be joined by Dan Rafael. Andre Dirrell fights England's James DeGale for the 168-pound title vacated by the injured Carl Froch. Brian, what can the fight fan expect from this matchup?
Very good matchup here. I mean, essentially from a technical standpoint, the two southpaws, both of them with that Olympic medal winning experience. Also, I think there's some potential here for some sneaky action and drama in the fact that this fight means so much to two fighters in their absolute primes going after their first world title for DeGale. For Dirrell, it's a second chance, and this is really the intrigue here. It's been 5 years since we've seen Andre Dirrell in a major fight. You know, recovered from the injury, the neurological issues from the Abraham fight, also had issues with promotional and management. He's had a little bit of a comeback, but he hasn't been on this level. How he responds is going to be very interesting.
You're thinking that kind of layoff against quality opponents is going to have an impact in this fight?
That's the intrigue to see how he bounces back.
Yeah, DeGale, Dan, has won 10 fights in a row since suffering his only defeat, a majority decision to rival George Groves. What should Dirrell be concerned about most from DeGale?
I think that it's sort of the same kinds of things that he has to be concerned about also, in the fact that they're both lefties, they're both excellent technicians, they both are very good boxers, they both have kind of underrated power. DeGale has been fighting a decent level of opposition. He has 3 knockouts in a row, and he's very confident. So I think they have to be concerned about the same sort of things from each other. It's not like one guy's the big puncher, the other guy's the big boxer. They both have kind of similar styles in that respect. So I think that they may, in many ways, sort of be looking in the mirror against each other. They've got similar quickness. You know, like Brian said, it's an interesting matchup on paper. I'm hopeful that somebody will choose to take the lead in the fight because they both like to counter, and that we might be getting some sneaky action, like Brian said.
Yeah, that's an interesting point he makes, taking the lead in the fight. Counter punchers like to lay back like Floyd and not take the lead. You know, Dirrell suffered his only loss, a disputed split decision setback to Froch in 2009, and DeGale was with us, talked about that, and he said he thought that Dirrell won that fight. Most do. DeGale, what should he most be concerned about on the flip side when fighting Dirrell?
You know, I think it falls a lot into what Dan said, because Dirrell is when he's at his best, he's really a super elite boxer, counterpuncher, such a pure fighter. I mean, that fight against Carl Froch, you know, a lot of people thought that he was the one who should have gotten the nod on that. So if you're DeGale, you're going to have to force Dirrell to take the lead at certain times here. But I want to see from Dirrell, like I mentioned, how he bounces back, because he says mentally the difference in who he is now from 5 years ago is night and day in terms of the appreciation that he has from the sport. Will that make him more of a well-rounded fighter in this fight? Will he be more interested maybe in pressing down, you know, putting his foot on the gas pedal in key spots when he has an opportunity against DeGale? DeGale's going to have to deal with that hand speed of Dirrell, that ability to counter him. Whichever guy is able to get in their rhythm and carry out their game plan, that's going to be really key. Yeah,
like I said, they both like to be in the comfort zone of laying back and countering. Do you suppose one of them is going to say, I have to jump to the forefront here and make this happen?
Yeah, eventually whoever's not getting it done speed-wise, they're going to have to change their ways.
Hey, Dan, in addition to the aforementioned super middleweight title, what doors open in the near future for the winner?
Well, the winner, you know, there's going to be in a good spot. They're going to have a title belt, and that's obviously can help pave the way for some bigger fights for them. If they're going to look to try to take over the weight class, I don't think there's going to be the opportunity, particularly if it's Dirrell that wins the fight, to go up against the legit champ of the weight class, which is Andre Ward, who's going to be coming back on June 20th. But, you know, politics and networks and all that stuff get in the way here. I think if DeGale is the winner, we'll look and see him go back to England, where you know, developing his fan base, and perhaps make a defense, try to drum up the crowd there, maybe try to lure Carl Froch, who, if he hasn't decided to retire, to maybe come try to get his old belt back. You never know if that could work. That would certainly be a big fight over there. Maybe he could look to the winner of Abraham and Stiglitz, who are going to fight for the 4th time for one of the other belts. That would be a fairly big fight in Europe. If it's Dirrell who's the winner, similar situation. You know, continue to fight probably on the PBC platform, continue to try to defend the title and take on bigger names. There's always the possibility, I suppose, of him taking on Bado Jack, who has one of the other belts. They could do sort of what the Klitschko's did years ago, revenge of the brother, because remember, Bado Jack, he won his belt by beating Anthony Dirrell, Andre's brother. So there would be some intrigue in that fight.
D&D, DeGale and Dirrell will have post-fight highlights right here on the boxing page of ESPN.com. That's all our time for this edition of Making the Rounds. For Dan Rafael and Brian Campbell, I'm Jim Basquil.